Hi there. For those of you watching this video know by now that our mother, Charline Starkey, passed away April 24th, 2020. I'm Steve Starkey, number 3 son, by birth order only, and I'm going to be your setup man to basically take you through what we put together for this wonderful tribute video that we put together for our mother. You know, these are rather odd times we're going through this past year. The COVID-19 pandemic has put so many restrictions on so many people that unfortunately for us, we were unable to give our mother the traditional funeral that she so well deserved. But that's not going to stop the Starkeys, because we put together what we think is a truly fantastic tribute video that I hope you will all enjoy. But let me say thank you to so many people that sent in cards and letters and made donations to the American Dementia Society and the Bunker Hill Baptist Church in Jefferson, Maine. I got to tell you, those special notes meant so much to our family. And I think after reading so many of them, my mother can be described as a lady who was classy, elegant, fun-spirited, and she was always smiling. And there was those sound bites that really touched home to so many members of our family. Now, my mother, as you will soon find out, was a Girl Scout, which meant she's well prepared. So a couple of years ago, she gave me this. She gave me an envelope. And in the envelope, it says, for Steve, for whenever or whatever, with a little heart on it. And it was full of readings and poems, some of which she wrote, that she would like to have read at her funeral. So that's what we did. We put together a nice compilation that gives you a chance to better appreciate who our mom is and know why we love and cherish her so much. You're going to hear from every member of our family, all the kids, all the grandkids, and you'll even hear from Grandma Charl. It's a really cute little video. So we've designed this to be a family keepsake, something that we can view and treasure for many years to come. It's rather lengthy, but please bear with us because we think you're going to truly enjoy it. I'd like to say thank you to all the family members for all the contributions that they've made, because without them, we wouldn't have a video. And I'd also like to say thank you to Allie, who put together the production end of this video. So, without further ado, let's roll the video, and thank you for watching.
The Station by Robert Hastings. Tucked away in our subconscious minds is an idyllic vision. We see ourselves on a long, long trip that almost spans the continent. We're traveling by passenger train, and out the windows we drink in the passing scene of cars on nearby highways, of children waving at the crossing, of cattle grazing on a distant hillside, of smoke pouring from a power plant, of row upon row of corn and wheat, of flatlands and valleys, of mountains and rolling hills, of biting winter and blazing summer, and cavorting spring and docile fall. But uppermost in our minds is the final destination. On a certain day, at a certain hour, we will pull into the station. There will be bands playing and flags waving, and once we get there, so many wonderful dreams will come true. So many wishes will be fulfilled, and so many pieces of our lives, finally, will be neatly fitted together like a completed jigsaw puzzle. How restlessly we pace the aisles, damning the minutes for loitering, waiting for the station. However, sooner or later we must realize there is no one station, no one place to arrive at once and for all. The true joy of life is the trip. The station is only a dream. It constantly outdistances us. When we reach the station, that will be it, we cry. Translated, it means, when I'm 18, that will be it. When I buy a new 450 SL Mercedes-Benz, that will be it. When I put the last kid through college, that will be it. When I've paid off the mortgage, that will be it. When I win a promotion, that will be it. When I reach the age of retirement, that will be it. I shall live happily ever after. Unfortunately, once we get it, then it disappears. The station somehow hides itself at the end of an endless track. Relish the moment is a good motto, especially when coupled with Psalm 118, verse 24. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. It isn't the burdens of today that drive men mad. Rather, it is regret over yesterday or fear of tomorrow. Regret and fear are twin thieves who would rob us of today. So stop pacing the aisles and counting the miles. Instead, climb more mountains. Eat more ice cream. Go barefoot more often. Swim more rivers. Watch more sunsets. Laugh more and cry less. Life must be lived as we go along. The station will come soon enough. That one's for you, Mom. We'll be in touch. I'll call you on Tuesday unless something comes up before then. Love you.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Tom?
Oh, Tuesday, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday.
And then Lauren kind of fills in between.
Oh, yes. Oh, she's good. She calls me every night at supper time.
Oh, my word.
In the evening,
Wow.
if things aren't too hectic.
And then on Sunday, Farticus calls?
No, Saturday.
Saturday?
Oh, yeah, no, he's a Sunday.
Who's that? Farticus?
So we have some nice conversations.
Who?
She calls me every Monday night.
No way.
Ellen does.
Oh, wow.
And it always ends it with an "I love you." One of his places.
He was on
lives.
Nantucket? He liked these remote islands then, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean.
Curie Island, Nantucket, and
That's where he was there in the service. I
he
think.
was?
We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
That.
Hey, ask him tonight when the dependable Tuesday Tom calls.
Yeah, that's right too. If
Right
I
on.
remember because I know that's what kind of brought him to southern Massachusetts. Because the ferry to go out.
And
to
Lauren
the
put silly putty on her nose.
Oh yeah. Oh, she was a good little kid, really. She had a little suitcase, and when we had a trio date, I could even take her with me. And you sit there, dear, and there's your suitcase. And very good. She did what she was supposed to. Didn't get up or anything. We could put on our program, but we look up and there she is with the silly putty on her nose.
What a character.
In the woods. And they're very busy.
With the what, magnifying glass?
Magnifying glass and making holes in the... Pretty soon they have a fire. The fire department had to be called. But the ridiculous part of it is, about a month later we got a letter from the fire department thanking those two boys for how helpful they were.
But I think the Slosses were the ones that actually stayed on the Hunt's property.
Well, that
wasn't
was
the
it.
cars,
When
yeah.
we were first looking for, we wouldn't have found cars in a heartbeat. But the Slosses we found easy, and that's when we saw the pink cottage for the first time, and found out we could have it for $62. I don't know, a week or something. I mean, it was interesting, and it was a come on, and that's how we all started, with 2 weeks here, and then, well, let's make it a month, the next, pretty soon we're making it a season, and she said, whose dog is this? And you can't have him in the school garden. You have to take him home. Well, if the principal tells you to take your dog home, you take the dog home. Up I go from Lebanon Street, up over the hills, and take the dog home. But to this day, the injustice, my grandfather wailed on that dog, so he yipped. That because he followed.
Wasn't it?
Well,
It's
the
up
most
there.
surprised.
Most surprised. He's a wonderful guy, isn't he?
He's a nice fellow. I'm glad I've adopted him.
Yeah.
Doug Starkey,
Yeah, Doug Starkey.
4 brothers. Oh,
Oh, you need another brother.
What
A
is?
lot of people don't recognize
Yeah.
Wood Lamp when they see one.
Say hi to Lauren. Say
Hi, Lauren.
Tell her you miss her.
I'm missing you, and I'm looking forward to when you get here.
All righty. Say I'm feeling better.
Oh, I didn't know I was sick. Second grade teacher. I liked Miss Cagney, but I didn't want to go up and have my papers checked by her. No, I stood by her at the desk because she smoked. She stunk because she smoked. Now,
DJ, can you do
DJ,
this?
Can you do this?
Right.
And I am picking out Miriam Cooper, Anna Sasso, Dottie Briggs, and Dottie Quinn. There were 6 of us anyway. We even had a theme song. Oh me, oh my, we'll get there by and by. If anyone likes the TTP, it's I. Oh my, oh me, I'm happy as can be. If anyone likes the TTP, it's ye. No,
what's TTP?
Wow.
the True Pals. Hello there.
Grandma, pull it out.
Oh, the pinky! Woo! Whoa, the pinky! Wow!
My heart would be so yearning. Why did I decide to roam? Gone and take this sentimental journey. This sentimental journey home. Whoa.
This is a poem my mother wrote to her kids, Tom, DJ, Steve, and Lauren. And it goes like this. I guess I reached that time in life when one begins to ask, what have I done to make my mark on earth some task? No special time a banker's roll, not even a who's who. I search around and ask myself, what is it I do? My thoughts then turn, as often as they do, to dwell on each of you. Then I've come to realize my legacy is you. Each of you in your own special way have made me proud and happy every day. Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Charline Christensen Starkey. Charl, Mom, Grandma Charl, Mrs. Starkey, Charlie, Chris, the baby. During the last month of my mother's life, she would ponder her time spent on Earth with questions like, I used to have it going on, didn't I? Did I have a good life? What is my legacy? We spent countless hours reading past Christmas letters and phenomenally detailed accounts of yearly family activities from her carefully cataloged life in many volumes of scrapbooks. It was a truly amazing account of what we would all consider to be a wonderful life. It all began with Charlene's birth on June 23, 1925 in Malden, Massachusetts. Years before my mom's birth, her grandfather took the train to the last stop in Malden, and he walked for miles in the woods, where he found 14 beautiful acres high on a hillside that he later purchased on what would eventually become Beechview Ave. He built a home and planted peach trees, apple trees, grapevines, and put up a large chicken coop that served to supplement the family income. As my mother would often recount, her grandfather helped fill in the fens at Boston Back Bay, which would later become home to the historic Fenway Park. A couple years later, Charline, now 2, and her older sister Eleanor moved into a brand new Sears and Roebuck home at 101 Beechview Ave that her parents had built across the street from their grandparents' house. She remembers the new claw-leg bathtub with its fancy plug and chain that was irresistible to an inquisitive 2-year-old, and recalls falling into the tub, resulting in a shower of tears. A few years later, the nasty depression hit, and unfortunately, my mother's family had to move back across the street into the grandparents' house. They needed to rent their home for income in order to afford to live. They rented to the Pittocks, who years later introduced our family to Pemaquid, Maine by letting us stay in their summer cottage. At age 4, Charline got her first paying job by singing Jolly Little Raindrops to an Army veteran who paid her a penny for the song. As she grew older, my mother's need for adventure was satisfied by climbing Mount Hood near her house that had magnificent views of the Boston city skyline, where you could see the roller coaster at Revere Beach or even hear the eerie foghorns sing their songs from Boston Harbor. In the winter, they would skate on Big and Little Wakelands Pond behind her house, or sled down the steep slopes of Beechview Ave, where a good run would last a solid half-mile. When Charline was school age, she would walk a mile one way to Malden Elementary School and had to go home for lunch. Her 4-mile round trip was short-lived when her mother finally got approval to let her daughter eat lunch at school. One day, her dog Timmy followed her to school, and the teacher made her bring the dog home. That story didn't end well for poor Timmy the dog after the grandfather caught wind of what he had done. All the grandkids still hate the end of that story. Mom's love for music really began to take shape in grade school, where she took piano lessons from her very gifted mother, took cello lessons from a neighbor, and sang in the junior choir at church. Music was clearly going to be my mother's lifelong passion. In the 6th grade, she was awarded a Rotary Club scholarship to attend a 2-week Girl Scout Jamboree in the Adirondacks. The featured speaker was Eleanor Roosevelt, whom my mother actually met and got to shake her hand, a thrill she never forgot. When Charline entered her teen years, she followed her sister Eleanor to Geneva Point Camp in New Hampshire to work for the summer. Her parents loaded up their travel trunk, put them on a train headed for the summer retreat, arguably the most beautiful spot on Lake Winnipesaukee. Mom worked in the kitchen shucking 400 ears of corn for a weekend, then waitressed and ultimately made her way to the front office after 4 years of service. She was proud to tell us that she came home with $50, her wage for an entire summer's work. Now it was on to Malden High School, where she continued to sing with choral groups both at school and church. Her sister Eleanor talked her into auditioning for the Handel and Haydn Society choral group and the Boston Symphony. Much to her delight, they won the audition and proudly sang for many years with the H&H Society, which today is going into its 205th consecutive year. In her senior year, 1943, the TTP Club, the True Pals, flew to New York City for a weekend of fun and adventure, touring the Big Apple all on their own. The 4 girls in the TTP Club later went on to be Charlene's bridesmaids in her wedding. After graduating Malden High School, she went back for a final summer at Geneva Point Camp. While working in the office, she was assigned to show the Starkeys from Arlington, Mass. Around for the weekend. She was introduced to Dave, who quickly tired of being introduced to other people and told her, "Let's just you and I dance." That dance quickly turned into an ongoing subway and bus courtship between Malden and Arlington, Mass. Over the next year. Charline Ann went to Fisher College, enrolled in secretarial school. She was quite accomplished, voted best all-around individual, member of the Glee Club, YWCA, editorial staff, and she actually wrote the Fisher School song. Her yearbook entry says, "She has put much life into our classes, and her sense of humor came in handy when we were down and out about our studies. Her pleasant smile and friendly disposition have brought her many friends." Her boyfriend Dave, a year younger, finished his senior year at Arlington High School. Mom would recall jumping on the train at noon to go watch her man play football on Saturdays. After they both graduated, Mom went on to work at BU at the bookstore and the College of Music. My mother would later admit that she was fired for being tardy so many times. Dad did a brief stint in the Navy, and lucky for him, the war ended. Dad then enrolled at Colgate College, which began another long-distance romance now between Boston and Hamilton, New York. During major weekend college activities, my mother would take the train from Boston, ride all night to upstate New York, and she would stay at Dave's grandmother's house for the weekend. My mother became fast friend with Bernice, Dave's mom, while working in Boston. She would spend overnights in Arlington, give Bernice perms, and learn to love Filene's basement when her future mother-in-law would spoil her with shopping sprees. Dave graduated from college early, quickly found a job with Mobil Oil, and the two were married on February 5th, 1949. They shuffled off to Buffalo to start the new life together. So, Mom, you ask, did I have a good life? Absolutely. Your early years were fulfilled by adventure, by a passion for music, by great accomplishments, and by the beginning of a lifelong relationship. So let's fast forward to the next chapter. My mother would say that her goal in life was to have 4 kids and a loving family. I often thought that that was a very simplistic goal and very uninspiring. How little did I know. Once again, my mother teaches me a life lesson. Let me explain. She went on to raise 5 kids: Tuesday Tom, Sunday DJ, Anchor Steve, the baby mama Lauren, and Martha, who sadly passed away at 11 years old. She loved her 8 grandkids: Mother Kelly, Parks girl Maddie, Nurse Stacy, Lawyer Tricia, her favorite grandson Drew, or the Nate Dog, Teacher Allie, Secretary Krista, I mean international business, and the Pittsburgh nurse Shelley. How proud she was to tell people that she had 2 great-grandchildren, Justin and Lincoln, and recently added a 3rd great-grandchild when baby Nora was born on May 1st. In Charlene's 94 years, she took up residency up and down the eastern seaboard, living in 5 different states: Massachusetts, New York, Maine, Florida, and finally in North Carolina. She lived in 8 different cities and moved 13 times during the course of her lifetime. Reading is the place we all call home. Growing up at 16 Catherine Ave was truly magical, and my mother had a hand in designing every Norman Rockwell moment of our fantastic upbringing. In each Rockwell memory was an implied lesson on how to live life. Let me explain what those lessons are. Go outside and play lesson. We had a great neighborhood, full of young kids all our own age. We spent hours up at the circle, the cul-de-sac, playing wiffle ball, kickball, touch football, even building snow forts for epic snowball battles. My mother kept a close eye from afar by looking for the dogs, Duchess and Bimbo, who were always near the action. Love thy neighbor lesson. Many times during the summer, the entire neighborhood would caravan to Wingasheep Beach in Gloucester, Mass. All the mums would get up early so we could park in the front row, pack our lunches that were eaten by 10 a.m., and then we'd head home by 2 p.m. after a fun day at the beach. Every year, on the last day of elementary school, the neighborhood would pile into our cars for a fun day at the amusements at Canopy Lake Park in New Hampshire. Charline was usually the chief organizer, getting all the neighbors ready for fun. The make family time lesson. Every Sunday night, we'd all gather around the TV in the family room and watch The Wonderful World of Walt Disney. In the 70s, my mother would be right there with us, cheering on Bobby Orr and the Boston Bruins to victory. And no Saturday morning would be complete without watching 3 episodes of The Three Stooges. Even Charles got a chuckle over those knuckleheads. The take charge lesson. Charline and neighbor Jean Carr were den mothers for the Cub Scout pack, making sure we had fun projects to do and helped us earn our next merit badge. My mother loved to do crafts and spent hours in Ella Hubbard's basement preparing and organizing for the annual Ladies' Craft Fair. And of course, she ran our household with the help of a daytimer that was chock full of notes and activities for the weeks and months to come. Build traditions lesson. To this day, we still get out Charlene's Christmas songbook and the 12 Days of Christmas cards for a group sing-along. Her granddaughters still find a way to finesse the 5 golden rings card for a rousing rendition of this annual family favorite. And no Yankee swap is complete unless somebody gets zonked with that old ugly ashtray that's been passed down for generations. And what other family applauds the crowd with their own family clap? We actually have one. Pursue a passion lesson. We would trudge off to Old South Methodist Church and sit in the balcony to listen to our mom sing her choir solo. Dad would glare at us while we tried not to giggle. The Melody Moms singing trio and best friends loved to entertain their fans with their classic Up, Up and Away song that was complete with bouncing balloons. In the summer months, Charline kept her music alive by singing at the Bunker Hill Baptist Church in Jefferson, Maine, with her favorite organist, Mark Johnston. Make others laugh lesson. Charline was always a fun-spirited person. She surprised neighbors one evening while eating at a Chinese restaurant while secretly swapping out fortune cookies with racy versions. She sent an anonymous offensive letter in response to Michael Holden's provocative Christmas card and kept it a secret for 2 years until she finally told him he had sent it. She enjoyed it when the boys played jokes on their dad, like lighting firecrackers under the porta-john while he tended to his business, or shouting, "Go!" during the Bruins game just to wake Dad up, even though nobody scored. The better yourself lesson. Charline took yoga lessons in the 70s before it was cool, and she continuously tried to improve her singing ability with frequent voice lessons. When using the family tape recorder, you would often find pre-recorded self-help tapes or the Power of Positive Thinking book cracked open on the coffee table. She was always trying to be a better person. The See the World lesson. Going to Expo 67 in Montreal was a special adventure for this was our first big family vacation. Our outing was cut short because of a mumps outbreak, but we had a blast. Most of Dave and Charles' trips were back and forth between Florida and Maine, but they did have some fantastic retirement trips to Alaska, California, and Colorado. Of special note was a journey to Nova Scotia with our neighbors, the Hubbards, that produced a remarkable picture of my mom holding a gigantic 5-pound lobster that they later ate. Own your mistakes lesson. While we were paper boys, our folks would make us trek back to the house that didn't get their daily newspaper delivered, or clean the house that got egged or shelled with berries, or apologize to the driver whose car was pelted with snowballs. Even Mom and Dad had to say they were sorry to the Savages when my folks were pool sitting and the Savages came home early from vacation and found virtually the entire neighborhood in their pool. That was so embarrassing. Needless to say, they were never invited to pool sit again. Be part of a community lesson. My mother was active in the Barrows PTA and Circle at church. She loved her time with Eb Bosworth, working with her for years at the Cheese Importer and the Suburban News in downtown Reading. In retirement mode, she loved to spend time with the Grange ladies at their weekly Stitch and Bitch meeting in Maine. The Be Thrifty lesson. My mother learned to pinch pennies early on. She regularly used S&H green stamps, shopped at Dollar Days at Filene's basement. Man, was Lauren spoiled. And was the coupon cutting queen. She'd substitute powdered milk, much to the objection of her children, and had our names sewn into our towels as an attempt to be eco-friendly by doing less loads of laundry. Make special memories lesson. Our collective favorite family place to be, undoubtedly, is Maine. On a cloudy, foggy day in Pemaquid, we ventured out to Damascotta Lake. We never would have found the pink cottage if it wasn't for the slosses and cars. Now, 50 plus years later and 3 generations, all the Starkeys love their summer vacations in Maine, with regular trips to Pemaquid Point, Camden, Booth Bay Harbor, or dining out at Moody's, Round Top Ice Cream, Shaw's, and Muscungus Bay, or even making those special trips to get ice at the schooner. My mother always had something special planned to make vacation memorable, whether it be making family banners for the main event, putting on plays, or organizing activities like relay races, wiffle ball games, bocce ball games, and journeys to the rope swing on Blueberry Island that she later admitted she really never really liked. Of course, no vacation would be complete without a few games of Rummy Cube, Shut the Box, and countless card games like Garbage, Cribbage, and Michigan Rummy. The pink cottage for my mother was truly her heaven on earth. Connect with people lesson. Charline always went the extra mile to make people feel welcome in her home. She loved the family and friends gatherings, but she really thrived on one-on-one conversations. She made special time for each of her grandkids so that they would get to know her better. It could be as big as an individual one-on-one vacation in Maine, or as simple as sitting on her lap and reading a favorite book. Every one of her grandkids can sing the song, Now the Sun is in the West. My mother wanted to say goodbye to a few lifelong friends. Her special Reading and Maine friend, Jean Carr. The Melody Moms, Ev Bosworth and Marion Teese. Her friends from Maine, the Hunts, the Meehan's, the Johnston families. Her garden table mates, Betty, Alice, Nora, and Helen. Her steadfast family and friends, Cousin Ellen, Uncle Bob, and her adopted fourth son, Doug Smith. The list would not be complete without a special thanks to her best friend, Brenda, who carefully cared for her over the last 7 years. Our whole family thanks you, Brenda. Special thanks to Kelly's Family Home Care and Heartland Hospice Care, who made Charlene's last chapter as comfortable as possible. Finally, to my sister Lauren, whose even disposition, care and support, love and devotion went beyond the call of duty. She was always the one whose calming words would bring my mother back to a happy place. And so it goes. My mother lived her life by setting examples for us to follow. She taught us to always smile, to see the world through rose-colored glasses, and to be the glass half full person. Mom, you asked, what is your legacy? It started with a simple goal to have 4 children and a happy family. Your legacy is your family. All 4 generations. It's a tribute to you. You raised future generations that love, care, and truly like one another. So I raised the bell that called us home. When we were young kids, and I now ring it for you, for the Lord to call you home. We all love and cherish you. Toodaloo.
The plan of the master weaver. Our lives are but fine weavings that God and we prepare. Each life becomes a fabric planned and fashioned in his care. We may not always see just how the weavings intertwine, but we must trust the master's hand and follow his design, for he can view the pattern upon the upper side, while we must look from underneath and trust in him to guide. Sometimes a strand of sorrow is added to his plan, and though it's difficult for us, we still must understand that it's he who fills the shuttle. It's he who knows what's best. So we must weave in patience and leave to him the rest. Not till the loom is silent and the shuttles cease to fly shall God unroll the canvas and explain the reason why. The dark threads are as needed in the weaver's skillful hand as the threads of gold and silver in the pattern he has planned. Love you, Mom. Toodaloo.
Hi, I'm Teresa, Charlene's daughter-in-law and Steve's wife. I have known Charline for 47 years, and she was 47 when I met her, and I was 14. Charline was a classy, fun-loving person who was always a helper. I used to have for many years I had Steve's company department Christmas parties at our house, and she would come over for 2 days and help me beforehand. We would plan out the meals. She would help me iron the linens. And she would always have me put the platters out with little labels on them that said, the cheese puffs will go here, the chicken wings will go here, because she said she can't be making any decisions at the last minute, and she was right. And she would always tell me, too, that you were never supposed to be ironing linens the day of a party or you'll never be finished. And she was right, because that year she taught me that. I was doing it that day, and I almost wasn't ready on time. But she was also very fun-loving. In fact, she would participate in the Yankee swap we would have. And one year she picked a gift, and it was a crazy pair of underwear. I don't even know what was on them. But she had her slacks on, and she just got up in the middle of the room, put those underwear right over her slacks. And everyone, of course, was laughing their head off. So she was just fun to be around. She was also a teacher. The year we bought our first house, her and Dave came to visit for about a week. And they had gone to the mill in Lawrence and brought all this drapery fabric. Well, she came and she taught me how to make draperies. We made them for my living room, my dining room, my kitchen, and my laundry room. She taught me that making drapes is not about sewing. It's about measuring, ironing, and pinning a lot. She was also a wonderful grandmother. The girls loved going over there. She loved to be having little activities for them to do. It could just be coloring on her kitchen table or sitting on her bed going through all her jewelry. She really loved having the one-on-one time with them, so she got to know each one of them individually, which she did. And the girls thought she was so special because Grandma's house, you could walk to McDonald's or an ice cream parlor, and what could be cooler than that? The last thing I think that's important that she instilled in me was the love of Maine. I mean, I started going there when I was 15, so that was like 46 years ago. And in the future now, anytime I hear the song of a loon or see a lily pad floating on the lake, I will think of Charline. And now I would like to read one of her favorite prayers, the prayer of faith. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I know am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ, the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, I'm feeling quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. I'll miss you, Grandma. You're always very special. Toodaloo!
Hello, I'm Madeline. I'm Tom and Tracy's oldest daughter and Grandma Charles' second grandchild. As I've been thinking about what I wanted to say in my tribute, I just keep coming back to thank you. Thank you, Grandma, for our family, for bringing us together, for teaching us to value and respect our loved ones, for appreciating our family history and sharing that with us, and most of all, teaching us to cherish the time we have together. Thank you for Maine. I don't know where my favorite place in the world would be without you. My most cherished memories are at the Pink Cottage, and all of the best traditions are in Maine. Thank you for being such a wonderful role model. Your love of music and your dedication to making sure that your passion was part of your daily life was an inspiration. Your outlook on life, your positivity and grace in every situation was really amazing. I know that I would be a different person today without your influences on my life. And lastly, thank you for the memories. We had so much fun together. Whether it was games in the car on the way to the country cupboard, Rummy Cube at night, or yard games during the day, you were always down to play. I keep laughing about the time during the family clothes swap relay race when you accidentally pulled your pants down in front of everyone. Boy, did we get a kick out of that. Whether it was spoiling me with treats, peanut butter and fluff on Wonder Bread, round top bubblegum ice cream, strawberry shortcakes and s'mores, you always let us have little treats when we were together. Or singing songs and putting on performances. You'll always be my grandest old flag. Grandma, I'm gonna miss you so much. And I'm so thankful that I had you in my life for as long as I did. I love you.
I'm Trisha Starkey, middle child of Charles' eldest son Tom and grandkid number 4. Growing up, my siblings and I were fortunate to spend the summers with Grandma Charle and Grandpa Dave at the Pink Cottage in Maine. Grandma made our time there so special that we jokingly referred to it as Camp Grandma Charle. It was just like every other summer camp. There was arts and crafts, where we'd make cards with Grandma. We would spend hours searching the field for that perfect Queen's Anne's lace flower that we could dye with food coloring and put in a jar above the sink. There was theater. We would borrow Grandma's jewelry and clothes and perform plays with our cousins. There was story time. Grandma genuinely cared what was going on in her loved ones' lives and wanted to hear what we were doing. And she would connect us with stories of other family members and friends and what they were up to and what the town was up to. And we loved listening to her fascinating stories about her past. And of course, with Grandma Charle, there was always music. Whether it was going up to the Bunker Hill Church to watch her perform in the choir, having her lead us on sing-alongs, on camp songs, such as She's a Grand Old Flag and other numbers. We spent most of the days swimming on the lake, having picnics on the boat, laughing during dinners, going to get ice cream, and having family game nights. Actually, my favorite game was introduced by Grandma Charle, Rummy Cube. While we made countless of irreplaceable memories during the days, my fondest memory of Grandma Charle was when she would put us to bed every night. She would come tuck us in and sit at the foot of the bed and ask us what our favorite memory was from that day. We'd spend a few minutes reliving the highlights of the day because it was often hard to just pick one great memory. And she would tell us to close our eyes and think of that happy thought as she lulled us to sleep, singing, "Now the sun is in the west." To this day, if I have trouble falling asleep, I imagine myself in Maine, tucked in that small twin-sized bed with Grandma Charle at the foot of the bed. The comfort of that cherished memory is so peaceful and relaxing that it always helps me fall asleep. Making sure we fell asleep happy every single night is just one small example of Grandma Charle's radiant positivity that really defined who she was as a person. My whole life, I have described Grandma Charle to others as a quintessential grandmother. She was loving, caring, kind, supportive, genuine, merry, and always put a smile on your face and in your heart. I'm truly grateful for the sense of family value that she instilled in us, and I will carry that with me forever. She was truly the best grandmother, and I'm blessed that she was an important part of my life for 29 years. Toodaloo, Grandma.
Hello, friends, family, and loved ones from all over. Thank you for taking some time to remember the wonderful lady who was Grandma Charle. My name is Drew. I am Tom and Tracy's son and Dave and Charles' only grandson. Spending summers at the Pink Cottage in Maine was a huge part of my childhood, and it's something that I am incredibly grateful for. When I visited Grandma with my dad a few months ago, one of the memories that she shared with us was baking the shortcakes for the Strawberry Festival at the Bunker Hill Church in Damascotta. I remember eating a lot of ice cream, which Grandpa Dave scooped, and that was the same church that we would go to on Sundays to hear Grandma sing. Looking back at it now, I truly appreciate going to those Sunday services. Not just because it was important to Grandma, but it also brought me closer to the community that she held close to her heart. I have so many fond memories from Maine. Spending time with my cousins, aunts and uncles, immediate family, and of course, Grandpa Dave and Grandma Charle. From catching frogs in the creek, to jumping off the pontoon boat in Deep Cove, to playing crazy family games, making s'mores, or stopping by Round Top Ice Cream after a trip to Pemaquid, I am hard-pressed to recall a time when I was up there doing something alone. And I think that's why I have such fond memories, because we were always surrounded by love and support in an environment that Grandma truly fostered. Anytime I hear a loon call or see a pink lady slipper, I will know that you and Grandpa are looking down over me. I love you, Grandma Charle. Toodaloo.
My fondest memory is playing dress up with Maddie at the main house with clip-on earrings, grandma's dresses, and makeup. I'm gonna miss her a lot, and I'm sorry that she missed out on meeting this guy.
Hey, I'm Allie Starkey, and I am Steve's oldest daughter and Charlene's granddaughter. I had the pleasure of living right down the road from Grandma Charle growing up in Raleigh, and I loved going over there, and my sister and I would play with all of her stuffed animals. She had this little goose on her front stoop that she would dress up for every holiday, and we loved going to see that. She also lived right down the road from an ice cream shop. So Shelly and I thought we were so lucky when Grandma would walk us through the woods and we would go and get our cotton candy ice cream from Scoop's Ice Cream. Another of my favorite memories of going over there is she had jewelry, and she had jewelry in every color. And they would be in little baggies attached to the outfit that she wanted to wear the jewelry with, but she would let us put on all the jewelry and we would stack them up and we would act like we were movie stars with all of Grandma's fancy costume jewelry. One last memory that I have of her in Raleigh is she actually taught me how to play piano for a little when I was little. I was terrible, but it was a nice little moment. I think I would go over there every Wednesday and she would teach me how to play. And though I was not good, she always tried her best to encourage me, and we had a favorite song that we would play, which was Chopsticks, and she taught me the very basics of it while she did all the fancier parts, and we would duet Chopsticks together. We had many a times in Raleigh and in Maine, and I'm gonna miss her dearly. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shelly, Steve's daughter and Charlene's youngest grandchild. When I think about Grandma Charle, there are three major things that always pop into my head. The first one is, of course, music. I know that she passed on her passion to all of us, and without her, I wouldn't have probably even begun playing piano, and still to this day, she is the only person that I would play in front of out of choice. The second thing is her ability to accessorize. That woman was an accessory queen, Exhibit A. We all saw her rocking one of these in her hair at some time or another. I also happened to wear her high school class ring, Malden, class of 1943. I wear that every day. The other thing that stands out is her ability to light up a room and tell stories. Unless it's the Timmy story. We all know that one. But my favorite story she would tell is the one where she met Grandpa Dave and was giving him a tour of camp, and the tour was coming to an end. He says to her, "I've seen all I can see. Do you want to dance?" And she would always say, "And then we danced for the next 60 years. And wow, what a line, right? Some of my favorite stories about Grandma Charle are when I was really young and not quite cool enough to play with the older cousins yet, she would always play with me. Another classic, I'm sorry, Krista, if you've already told this one, was one Christmas, Krista got a guitar and Grandma Charle was helping her tune it, and she broke one of the strings, and she said, "Oh my, I seem to have broken the G string." And lastly, I had the opportunity to interview her for a school project once, and she was talking about how the Cars introduced them to Maine and how the family first started going in the first place, and she said, I have to look at it. "Thank the Lord for the surprises in life that unfold and make all the difference." So here's to you, Grandma Charle. You made all the difference. Cheers to 95 years.
My favorite memory of Grandma Charle is probably the most recent memory I have with her. Ricky and I went to visit her at her new place at Kelly's, and we told her that we were pregnant with Nora, and she was very excited, and she actually cried, and it was very sweet. She was excited because Nora would be her first great-granddaughter, and we wished so badly that Nora would have been able to meet her.
I'll always remember sleepovers at Grandma and Grandpa's house. We loved playing with Grandma's dress-up jewelry. This necklace was my favorite, and then walking to Scoops for ice cream. And then we would come back, and Grandma and Grandpa would tuck us into bed, and Grandma would sing to us, "Now the sun is in the west."
Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep.
I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow.
I am the sun on ripening grain. I am the gentle autumn rain.
When you awake in the morning's hush, I am the soft, uplifting rush.
Of quiet birds on circling flight, I am the soft star shine at night.
Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.